In today's drawing session, I want to invite you into the process of creating this picture. If you would like to join me, you are very welcome to use this for your own reference. While I draw, I want to talk a little bit about real art versus commercial art. I hope you will join me. Becoming an artist for a living presents quite a mental challenge that I have grappled with quite a bit, and I would like to share some of the pitfalls and the mistakes that I found along the way, in the hope that maybe you would avoid jumping into these like I did. As I got going, I started in a really good spirit. I loved every single day and the creativity was flowing, but quite unnoticeably I had the sense of a subtle stress energy that started to increase, and it was a sense that you need to earn some money with all this time you're spending on your art. And that created the need. I thought it was a good idea to calculate then how much time I could spend on each picture, but that calculation then started to make me rush the process, and that just didn't work out really all that great. The result of this energy, this slight stress energy coming in and taking over, and the thinking that I needed to only spend a measured amount of time on each painting was really flawed, and it resulted in me producing more in quantity but less in quality, and that really backfired. Mistake number one: allowing money calculations to dictate my process. So my advice for you is that if you're setting out and you're thinking about starting to make a living out of your art, don't set yourself such limits. Don't do the calculations like I did. There are better ways we can do this. Now I'm in a place where I don't rush my original works anymore. I take my time with them, I pour my love into them, I give them all they need, I spare no expense, especially not time, and that means when I show up with these pieces, I'm really proud of them. I know their value, and I feel good when I offer these to people because I know they are getting a good deal from me. If you do things for the right reasons, that's where that work will spark an emotional response in the viewer, and you're actually managing to make something that people will want to part their money for. So after temporarily being stuck in this ditch, I got myself up and moving, and then I got myself stuck in another one. This time the commercial conundrum got me slightly differently. I think it was disguised as discipline. In order to produce enough to make enough money, I will need to start earlier and work harder. I don't know if you've had any experience trying to do this. It's not how art works. Creativity wants to be freed from your survival pressures. It just doesn't thrive, it doesn't grow if you try to force it. So I tried to force it a bit in this phase of my life. That didn't work out at all. This time, the body of work I created in my discipline phase, I never even took out to show people because I didn't connect with it at all. And I decided it's just not working. I got very exhausted. I had taken away all little respites of my day, and the whole day was now work, and I just physically couldn't cope with it. After a few months of doing this, I really had to revert back to a new way of thinking. It's kind of the wrong way of putting it, but I was reverting back to primarily being a mom, and my new way of thinking was this art thing is clearly something that needs time, and me trying to push it, it's not gonna work. I'm going to have to give it the time that's needed, and I'm committed to going for the long journey with this. It doesn't have to succeed before it's ready to succeed. So I really learned after that experience to stop pushing myself stop pushing the art out and just choose what was right for me, which was a much more light-hearted approach where the important thing is just to keep practicing. And so instead of approaching my work in a way that I felt like I need to be able to sell these things, I just approached it as I need to practice more, and allowing myself to approach my work with that thinking really freed me up into a new phase where I started to experience so much more joy and freedom in my work, and I could feel that releasing the tension and the forcing it and the pushing it and allowing it instead to unfold and see what this is all about for me was such a much more healthy approach, and it just allowed for my creativity to start flowing so much more freely. But as I was practicing, I thought it's pretty good. I quite like it. I'm gonna try to also sell it. When I had the chance, I took these drawings out that I had started making in the spirit of freedom, and I found, to my surprise, I had tapped into a little bit of that space. You can hit the art that it's real, but it's also commercial, because it's coming from a real pure joy of creating, and you're able to express that, and therefore some of them were, as a result, quite commercial. So I had a nice experience of how everything can come into a harmony and start working together, and you can find that real art can be very commercial. I keep coming back to the same thing, where it's that the mentality of trying to push things out keep sneaking back in again, and I have to just step back and say I'm just practicing. But I find that it's a really good little trick, and it's a really good tip to approach your blank piece of paper with a mindset of, I'm just gonna see what happens. There's no pressure to succeed, and that way I could really trick my brain into a much more playful and healthy and creative flow. It just really worked. So I would encourage you to do the same. And if you are at the moment in a stage of practicing and you're thinking about starting to try to sell it, I would encourage you to try to do it, but just have super low expectations in the beginning and make everything an experiment. And just know that the sales that you do make are amazing. They are amazing victories, because if you've sold something once, you can sell it again. And that's the other thing I want to implore you to do, is make sure you digitize your work before you start selling it as well. So you can keep a record of what things actually sold, and you can create prints of that, and you can sell those things again. Because if you've done that for a couple of years, you'll probably find yourself with a portfolio of 10 or 20 pieces that have sold, depending on how busy you are, of course. Well, if you consistently digitize your work, that was a thing I did not do. I didn't digitize my originals in the beginning. I was so focused on just selling original work. But it's so necessary, if you don't want to burn out as an artist, to find a way that is less stressful. After a couple of years of doing it, you'll be able to set up an amazing print shop online, and you can even use print-on-demand companies to help you out with the process, so that you can create an income where you don't have to constantly reinvent your own wheels, but you can start to have something, you can start to gain a bit of momentum. But this is such an interesting journey, and I think every artist who pursues art will come into this situation where your work is being affected by all sorts of circumstances, and the best artwork definitely always is created from the pure joy of creation. That, if you think about it, some of the most commercial things that I can think of are also the most real artworks. Van Gogh's Starry Night. Well, legend has it that Van Gogh never sold anything during his lifetime, only one single piece. So he can certainly not be accused of being a commercial artist, but I find his Starry Night one of the most commercial artworks that I can think of. Unfortunately for him, he was ahead of his time, which is something I wish will not happen for any of us. I made the mistake of not digitizing my work. I made the mistake of trying to create originals within a time frame, and I made the big mistake of thinking I could solve things with a bit more discipline and elbow grease. So yeah, remember this, just approach your art practice as practice. That's my best advice. Thank you so much for being with me today and spending this time. I hope you were drawing as well and you got something good out of it. Well, now that you have listened all the way to the end, I just want to share with you that I am starting to collect emails for a little prize draw. I've got an original artwork that I'm offering up, and I want to encourage you to sign up on my sign up link here below the video. Just want to tell you to make sure you check your spam folder, as when I tested it out myself, the email I sent to myself went to my spam folder. Thank you so much for watching this video. Take care and all the best.